So inshallah we'll start. Few things that we did last time we are going to repeat briefly so we can follow the language. First of all, we noticed last time that when we write like this, alif with a zabar, we call this in Urdu. In Arabic, this will be written as alif with a hamza and a zabar on it. So whenever you say something written like that, it is just like that. Number one. Number two, this little sign here which we call zabar, in Arabic we call fataha. So we will be using the word fataha, not zabar. Okay? So basically these three things, when you see the zabar here, this is actually fataha. So when I say fataha, I'm actually saying zabar. Then zair is kasra. And pesh is dhamma. So whenever I say fataha, I would mean zabar. Zair is kasra in Arabic, and pesh is dhamma. So we'll use these terminologies instead of calling zair, zabar, and pesh in Arabic. Then we learned couple other things. Is that in Arabic, whenever we write these two letters together, we pronounce al. In English, just think this as the word the. A book and the book. So whenever we want to use something very specific or definite, then we put a da with that. The book, the pen, the book, the kitab. So for that we use the word al. Then also I have given a table which is the very basic and fundamental grammar that we'll be using again and again for reference. And that table uses three letters as the starting point. And those are fa, and lam. These are the three letters which we use to learn all the Arabic grammar. So we'll be going back and forth with these three letters and use these three letters as an example of learning the Arabic of the Quran. Okay? 99% of the Arabic words would start with three letters. Example three letters are fa, ain, and lam. These are three separate letters, but the meaning of these three letters will be like four letters in English, to do. Okay. These are also four separate letters, but when we put them together, they have a meaning. So if I do something like that I change something here in this sentence in this word to do, I put a he in the front and make the second word as did. This has information about a third person, a past tense, and a masculine person. To do the same meaning in Arabic, it is much simpler than English. All we do, we take these three letters and we write down them together like this, and we put one fataha, one zabar on each of them for the purpose of pronunciation. So fa'ala. Fa'ala means he did. Third person did something is fa'ala. And that's the first box on the left hand side in the chart that I gave. Fa'ala. Using this, we learned one word of the Quran last time, which is if we have these three letters, ha, mim, and dal. Hama, da. Okay? The meaning of these three letters is to praise or to admire. To praise or to admire. That's the meaning of those three letters. If I apply this grammar here, this will be ha, ma, and da. hamada. And we can understand what's the meaning of this word. He praised. Third person is admiring something, or past tense, praised or admired. So simple thing, when you put 3 fatahas, 3 zabars on each one of them, it brings the meaning of third person in the past tense. Hamada. Okay, that's another rule. Also, one more thing before I go into this is, if I take the same 3 letters here, so this means he praised. Okay. If I take the 3 letters and again combine them just like that, and now I'm going to put different harakats. Put a fataha on this one and put a sukoon or jazm on the middle letter. And on the third letter, I put 2 pesh or 2 dhammas. Okay. Whenever we write any word in this with these are called harakat. Fataha, kasra, dhamma, sukoon, they are called harakats. And they help us pronounce the word.
How do you say two dhamma in Arabic?
Dhammatain. So if there are 2, okay, so these 3 things, 2 fatahas, when you put a line there, that means 2 fatahas. When I write a line and put 2 these lines under, they are called 2 kasras. And if I put a line and put 2 pesh, they are 2 dhammas. In Arabic, one is called fatah, 2 of them called fathatain. One is called kasra, 2 are called kasratain. One is dhamma, 2 are called dhammatain. These have names, they are called tanween. All 3 of these are called tanween. And the sound of tanween is the sound of noon. Sound of tanween is the sound of noon. Sound of zabar is like A in English or alif in Arabic. The sound of zair is the like E and or ya in Arabic. The sound of pesh or dhamma is O or vav in Arabic or Urdu. So these are the sounds. Okay? And they are called harakat. They help us pronounce the word correctly. So going back to this one, if I combine that first letter, I put a fataha on it. The second letter is called sukoon or jazm. Both are correct. And the purpose of this little sign is that you combine first and the second letter together. So the sound of these 2 will be hum. Okay? And the third letter, I put 2 pesh or dhammatain, 2 dhammas. The sound of this is noon with a waw sound. So dal with these 2 will be dun. If there were 2 fathas, it will be dan. If there were 2 kasras, it will be din. Okay? So those are the 3 sounds: dan, din, and dun. So this word now is pronounced as hamu dun. Okay? This is a noun. Okay? And the meaning of this is praise. Okay? It's very important to know that in Arabic, all the nouns end with the sound of 2 dhammas. Hamdun. If you stop, you say hamd. But if you are telling someone the full word is hamdun. Okay? The full word is kitabun. Bun. 2 dhammas. Okay? If you stop, you say kitab. This is qalamun. Always two dhamma, sound of two pesh. So every noun ends up with the sound of this thing. When you're speaking this word and you don't want to continue, you stop, then only then you will pronounce this hamd. But if there's another word after that and you cannot stop, you have to pronounce hamdun. So original word is always with two dhammas on them, two pesh on them. The sound of noon, qalamun, kitabun, okay, hamdun. So this is the praise, okay. So that's some of this we did last time. So I want to continue after that. Just keep these things in mind. They are very important basic rules. We know them because we have learned how to read the Quran. But now we are going to make use of those rules to understand the meaning of the Quran, Quranic words. Okay? So last time we did one more thing. We had the word hamdun, and always when there is a noun with two dhammas, it is praise. Okay? It's always the meaning of a. Kitabun means a book, one book, any book. Kitabun. Hamdun, a praise or any praise. If you are admiring your child, you are doing a praise of the child, a praise of the child, admiring it. That is called hamdun. We also do one thing. If we put al, so I'm going to rewrite this. The meaning of this is a praise, and the word is hamdun. Now I want to put this word al before that, and I stated here that the meaning of al, it means the. That means this word will become the praise. This is wrong English. So we drop a here and we leave only the praise. Okay? Because we dropped a here, we have to drop something here also. And what we drop here, we just, these two dhammas, two pesh, we just remove and just leave one of them. Okay? So this is equivalent of removing this a from the English. So what is left now? Alhamdu. Alhamdu means the praise. Now this is not just any praise. This is the praise. All the praise combined is the praise. Okay? So this is the first word of Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdu. All the praise. Alhamdu means all the praise. The praise, the proper praise, everything included in the praise is Alhamdu. The word by itself was Hamdun, that could be any. For example, this is Qalamun. To dhamma sound at the end. Mun, Qalamun. A pen, this is Qalamun, this is a pen. Okay? If I put al before that, or in English I put the before that, then it will become the pen. Now this is not any ordinary pen. This is the pen. Okay? This is something very special, the pen. Okay? So by putting al and qalamun, when you put al and qalamun, you will have to change two dhammas into one, so it will become al-qalamu. Alhamdu, al-qalamu. If you have a book, kitabun. If you want to make it a special book, you say al-kitabu. Bun will go into book. So that rule will repeat again and again and again, and we'll look here, okay? So So with this we learn the first word of Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdu, all the praise. Okay? Then also we learn one more thing, and we will be using that again today, is that the original word is Allahu. This is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And the correct pronunciation of this is Allahu. The full name, the correct pronunciation is Allahu. Remember, I wrote down this alif with the hamza on it, and before we just know that, there was just like I mentioned here, this is the way it's going to be written. Okay. Then this combines with the lam with a tashdeed. This is called tashdeed, in Arabic it's called shadda. Okay. So Al-La-Hu. This is very important. The last letter is ha here. It has one dhamma on it, one pesh on it. So the correct word is not Allah, Allahu. Full word is Allahu. Okay? When you say, so when you reach to the last letter, and if there is no word after that, in the pronunciation, I start pronouncing Allah, and I reach to the last letter. If there is no word after that, then I am allowed to make this silent. And I will pronounce Allah. The sound is of ha, with the dhamma is hu. But if this is the last word of the sentence, or you have to stop somewhere, then you don't need to pronounce Allahu. You can pronounce Allah. That's enough. But if there is a word after that, okay, if let's say the word after that is Akbar, which is actually Akbaru, okay, if you are reading these two words together, then you have to pronounce this letter correctly. So the sound will be Allahu Akbaru. Okay, Allahu Akbaru. Same thing will happen. Last letter here has a dhamma here on Akbaru. When you stop, you can pronounce Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Okay. So last letter always loses something. When you say Alhamdu Lillah, even though it is Al-Hu at the end, but you did not pronounce that. You just pronounce Alhamdu Lillah. So this is the very fundamental basic rule, that last letter loses the sound. Okay? So that is Allahu. Also, the other rule we learn is that the actual word is Allahu. Allahu is the full word. If I put some letter or some other thing before that, for example, there is a letter Lam, and if I put a kasra or a zair under that, its sound is li. This by itself has a meaning. The meaning of this is for. The meaning of li is for. Okay? This is called harf-e-jar. Harf-e-jar. In English it's called preposition. For, with, in, above, all these words in English are called preposition. In Arabic they are called harf-e-jar. So whenever a harf-e-jar comes before a noun. Allahu is a noun, is an ism, is a word. Whenever this letter, and we will see more of this, comes, then we read these together. So two things happen when we combine these two together. First thing that happens is that this letter li, with the meaning for, has an effect on this word. The first effect is that it takes this dhamma and transforms this into a kasra here. Okay? So the sound of dhamma or pesh changes in the sound of kasra or zair. Number one. Number two, this kills the sound of this alif here. Okay? So when the sound of alif is gone, then you pronounce lillahi. The word now became lillahi. Originally the word was Allahu. Now it became lillahi. In Arabic, one word has a lot of effect on the neighboring word. It changes its sound. So, lillah, separately, this is li, this is Allahu. The combination of these is lillahi. Lillahi means for Allah. That's the second word of the Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdu lillahi. All praise or the praise for Allah. Alhamdulillahi. Separately, these are very separate words. The actually word was hamdun, another word was al. When these two combined, the word changed into alhamdu. Then there were two other words, li and Allahu. When these two words combine, it becomes lillahi. So the originality of the words is gone. Okay? But the new words are alhamdulillahi. The praise is for Allah. The meaning is now, all the praise is for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is the meaning so far of alhamdulillahi. Okay? So I have written down here, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. If we, as soon as we are finished learning these three, you will realize that you have learned a lot. Okay? So far we have learned only these two. Alhamdulillahi. I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to jump on this word now and then come back in the other words in between. Okay? So now we are going to learn one more thing. Okay, so let's learn this thing. We have this word, these three letters, kaf, ta and ba. Ka, ta, ba. The meaning of these three letters is to write. Ka, ta, ba means to write. Okay. If I make a little change here and put an alif in between these two letters, between ta and ba, and write down this like this. Kitabun. Okay? I put a kasra under the kaf, so it sounds ki. Combine this ta with the alif, with the fataha, it becomes ta, kita, and on the last letter, I put two dhammas. It sounds as bun, kitabun. Okay, this is the original word. Kitabun means a book. We know these words. I'm using this simple word that we already know. So the full correct word is kitabun. If you stop pronouncing, there's no word after that, you will say kitab. That we say all the time. The book is kitab. But the full correct Arabic word is kitabun. Okay. This is a noun, an object, a book, kitabun. Okay. Now let's take one more word here, which we know now, is that Allahu. Allahu is the correct word, the full word. Okay? And in English we can write down this Allah. Okay? So we have now two nouns. One is kitabun, an object. One is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the correct pronunciation is kitabun and Allahu. These are two separate words. These are two independent words and there is no relationship. Okay? In English, if I want to make a relationship between these two things, all I am going to do, if I put a word of in there, in between. Okay? Now it became a small sentence. A book of Allah. Now there is a relationship between these two words in English. A book of Allah. Now it became a particular relationship between two nouns. One noun is a book and the other noun is Allah. In English, the two letters O and F of made a relationship here. So now we understand that two words became a sentence. A book of Allah. We did this in English. How can we do the same thing in Arabic? That will bring the meaning of this of. Okay? Here we just took a different word of and we put in between. What we do here to bring the meaning on of. Okay? What we do here, there are very simple rule for that. Here, we don't have a word of to stick in between here. Okay? But what we do, we modify these two words just slightly. And how do we do this? We take the first word, kitabun. Okay? And always is the last letter which is the one which takes the change. So we take these two the last letter is ba, and the harakat on this is two dhammas. So what we do, we take these two dhammas and change into one only. On the first letter, first word, so it became kitabu. Then we take the second word here, Allahu, and look at the last letter, has a dhamma on it, has a pesh on it. What we do here? We take this dhamma and change it to a kasra. Okay. So, on the last letter, we made some changes on both the words. Kitabun became kitabu. Allahu became Allahi. Now we are going to read them together. So in the recitation, we are going to combine this last letter ba with this la and do not pronounce this alif. So now the full sentence is Kitabullahi. Kitabullahi. We change the sounds of both the words. That is equivalent of putting the word of. So the full statement is, full sentence is Kitabullahi. As I said again, if that's the last word and you stop, then you don't have to pronounce the last letter here. You can say Kitabullah. Kitabullah means book of Allah. Kitabullah, he is the full sentence. Okay? But when you stop, you can say Kitabullah. Okay? So that is, and this thing will repeat throughout, in every second, third sentence, this combination will repeat. So it's very important to understand that in English, you put off to relate two words. In Arabic, you don't put any word in between, but you just modify the last two letters. Kitabun becomes Kitabu, Allahu becomes Allahi, and you can still say it like this. It's correct to say Kitabu Allahi. This is correct. But when you do with the tajweed, the recitation, then rule of recitation of the Quran say that you don't pronounce the alif here, and you pronounce one whole together word statement, Kitabullahi, book of Allah, the book of Allah. Okay, so this is very important rule. Okay, so I use the word kitab because we all know that Kitabullah. Now we are going to apply this rule here on Bismillahi. Okay, so let's look at that one. This one starts with these three letters, Alif, Sin and Mim. As I said, all the words start with three letters. So let's take these three letters, Alif, Sin and Mim. The meaning of these three letters is to give a name. To give someone a name. Okay? Alif, Sin, Mim means to give a name or to have a name. Okay? Now, if I do this way, if I take the first letter and put a kasra, okay, and take the second letter and put a sukoon on that, it will be is. Take the third letter and put two dhammas, mun, ismun. Ismun means name. This is a noun. Ismun is the full and correct word. It means name. A name. My name, your name is Ismun. Okay? Important thing again to notice is that last letter will have two pesh or two dhammas on it. Just like Hamdun, Kitabun, all the nouns will have two dhammas or two pesh at the end. So the word is Ismun. Ismun means name. Okay? Now, let's take this word. Allahu. Same word here. Original word is Allahu. Okay. In English, Allah. Okay. So these are two separate nouns, two separate words. Now, just like this, here, I want to make a relationship between these two words. Okay. So what we do in English, we put an off there, right? So now it became a small sentence. Name of Allah, and these two words are not connected to each other. Okay, so in English we did this, in Arabic we have to apply this rule. So what is the rule here? Take the first word, look at the last letter, two dhammas. First word, last letter, Mim has two dhammas. Take out one dhamma. So this will become Ismu now. Okay. This rule, last letter has one dhamma, change into a kasra. So this will become Allahi. Okay. So separately the words are now Ismu Allahi. Right? Then in the tajweed we'll do the same thing here. If we read them combined, it will be Ismullahi, name of Allah. Okay. We do not pronounce this alif here. Okay. So it becomes Ismullahi. Ismullahi is the correct word. Ismullahi means name of Allah. Kitabullahi, book of Allah. Ismullahi, name of Allah. Okay. So far, Ismullahi. Okay. Now I'm going to do one more thing. We learned one word already, that if I put lam and put a kasra under there, this means for. This is called harf jar. I'm going to define another harf jar now. Take a ba and put a kasra under there. Sounds B. B means with. Okay. This is another harf jar. B means with. Okay. So I'm going to put B here in front of this. Okay. Now B will bring the meaning of with. Okay. Now B is a harf jar, and we learned that when we put this li before Allahu, this li is a harf jar. It changes the last letter of Allahu to Allahi. The last letter changes to Allahu to Allahi. Here the last letter is Ismu. It will become Ismi because of the B. Okay. So now we have three words. B, that means with. We have Ismi, is name, and we have the word Allahi. B, Ismi, Allahi. Now read them together, same way. You do not pronounce this alif. Bismillahi. That's exactly we say every time. Bismillahi. Originally there were different words. One word was B, one was Ismun, one was Allahu. By combining them, the formation change, the sound change of each word. So what is the meaning of? Now we know that when we say Bismillahi, it means with the name of Allah. Okay? And that's how these words are created.
So why they translate in the name of Allah?
In English is correct to do both ways. Okay? So you can translate with, but that's English. Okay? B and E both can be translated as in English. Okay? Which means associated with this, either in or with, but it is attached to this. Okay? In the name of Allah or with the name of Allah. Okay? So again, as I said, correct word is, and we use this all the time. If you are reciting the whole this thing, you will pronounce Bismillahi or Hir, right? But if you stop after that, what we say, we don't pronounce the last letters harakat. We say Bismillah. Okay? Very important. Okay? Last letter is pronounced only with the full harakat when there is another word after it. If you are going to stop, then you don't pronounce the last harakat. You just say Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah. But if there is a word after that, Bismillahi. Okay. So now, we know now Alhamdulillahi, and we now know Bismillahi. Okay. Now, this is important. Just remember this rule. This is very important. This rule is going to repeat almost in every ayat. And once we understand how we combine two nouns in English and how we combine in Arabic, these are the changes that take place in Arabic. Okay. So these two. Now let's take two more words from here. Okay. Maybe we should just go to now these two words, and then we'll go back and forth. Okay. Okay. So now, if you notice that Billahi is made of two words, Bi and Allahu. Okay. Bi, Allahu. Bi is a harf-jar. Harf-jar will change this to a kasra. So this would become Billahi, with Allah. Billahi means with Allah. Okay? Billahi. Also, in the pronunciation, you have Bi and Allahi. When you combine these two, you do not pronounce alif. Okay? So you pronounce Billahi. Now what we do in writing? In writing, we do this way. We combine this B with this alif, but we are not pronouncing the alif. When we are not pronouncing the alif, originally alif had these two things on top of that. Okay? There was a little hamza and there was a fatha. Because we are not pronouncing, what we do that instead of writing these two things, we put a little half swad on it. Okay? So what is the meaning of this little symbol on top of the alif? The meaning is that do not pronounce alif. Do not pronounce alif. Pronounce Billahi. Okay. So that is in writing we put a little sword. In pronunciation we do not pronounce at all. We combine B with the lam. Billahi, and alif has a little sword on it. So the word is now Billahi. Okay. Now let's learn one more thing. We said that we will be learning all the grammar of the Arabic by these three letters. Fa, Ain, and Lam. And the meaning of this is to do. Okay? Now I'm going to make a sentence in English. The sentence is that I do. Okay? What I did, I removed two and put an I there. Now, these two words when I put together have a lot of meaning. Okay? The meaning is that, first I'm talking about myself, I. And I'm talking about one person. And here, I'm talking about present tense. So when I say I do, it means myself and the present tense. How do we make a word in Arabic that means I do? Okay? The rule is that just like I put an I in the beginning here, I'm going to put an alif in the beginning. Okay, I added this I. I removed TO and I put an I here. In English. In Arabic, to make a meaning of this word, I add an alif. And I put a little symbol so I can pronounce it. Okay. Then I take these three letters and write down together like this. Okay. And now in order to bring this sound, how do I pronounce? I have to put some harakat on this. So on the first one I'm going to put a sukoon. Okay. On the second one I'm going to put a fataha. On the third one I'm going to put a dhamma. So I can pronounce now this word. This will be af-a-lu. Af-alu means I do. And this is in the table also. The word af-alu means I do. So this is the way we make Arabic grammar. If I'm talking about the myself, first person in the present tense, then I take the three letters. I add an alif, which was not part of the original three letters, and then put some harakat to sound it. Af-alu, I do. So this is the rule. Now we're going to apply this rule on some other three letters.
Says I will do.
Okay, in Arabic, there are only two tenses. Past tense and present and future are together. How do we differentiate if somebody is talking about present tense or the future tense from the context? Okay. And we will see that when that happens. Okay. So, af'alu will mean I do. It will also mean I will do. But it depends how are we talking. Okay. So, for now, and you will see from the context that why I am using I do instead of I will do. Okay. So, but this is the formation. You add an alif in the beginning, which was not part of the three letters, and then you sound by putting these exactly these harakats in there. Af, a, lu. That means I do. Okay. Now I'm going to take these three letters: ain, vav, and zal. These three letters. These three letters in Arabic mean to seek protection. The three letters in Arabic, when they come in this order is important. First ayn, then waw, and then dal. When these three letters come in this order, just like these three letters have come in this order, fa has to be first letter, ayn and lam. When you put these three letters out of 28 letters in this order, only then the meaning is to do. If you change the order, something else. Like hamada, when you put the ha, mim and dal. So the order is important. So if I take these three Arabic letters and put in this order, that first letter is ayn, vav and dal. As soon as these three come in one order, the meaning of these three letters, when we make the sentence, will be in English to seek protection. Okay. Now these three letters are just like these three letters, right? I'm going to apply this rule here. Okay. So what I'm going to do, if I want to make an English sentence, I can remove this to and put I there. So the word will be I seek protection. Okay. So the English word will be I seek protection. What we do in Arabic? Here. The first rule is that I put an alif in the beginning. Okay. So let's put an alif in the beginning. Okay. Then you take the next three letters and write down them together. Okay. So this will become ayn, vav, and dal. Okay. I just wrote down these three letters. Okay. Now we have to put the harakats on them. So the first letter, alif, that we added has a this thing on it. Second letter had a sukoon or jazm. So let's put a second letter, the sukoon on it. Third letter has a fatah on it. So let's put a fatah on it. Okay. And this letter, lam, last one has a dhamma or a pesh on it. So let's put a pesh on the last letter. Okay. So now we created a word here. And now let's pronounce this word. We pronounce this as af, a, lu. Now we have to keep, the rule is that all these harakats have to stay exactly the same as the rule. So we put the same harakats here. Now let's pronounce this word. The pronunciation will be a, wadu. So the word is a, wadu, right? What's the meaning of this word? I seek protection. Okay. Now, so when Arabs applied this rule and the word became wadu, it was hard to pronounce it. They found it is hard to say it. Okay. So they wanted to make it easy. Okay. So they develop some rules to make it easy pronunciation. So let's look at some of those rules. Okay. So the first rule is that, and we know that when you have an alif, its sound is like a fatah. Okay. When you have a vav, its sound is like a dhamma or a pesh. When you have these ya, its sound is like a kasra or zir. So these three are like in English vowel. It's like an A, this is like an O, and this is like an E. In English, these are used to help pronounce the sound. In Arabic, these three help make the sound, or they are equivalent to alif as a fatah, sounds as a. Waw is sound of pesh or u. Ya has a sound of kasra or yi. Okay. These three letters in Arabic are called weak letters. Weak letters mean kamzor, and their name is huruf illat. Huruf means letters, and illat means sick. Alil, someone is alil, he is sick. Illat means sickness. So these are called sick letters. Why do they call sick? Why are they called sick letters or weak letters? We'll find out from here. Now, look here, one thing. Look at the letter waw. Here. This waw is here, right? But the sound of the waw should be the sound of dhamma here. But the sound of waw is fatah here. Okay? So this is a mismatch. The sound of vowel is wrong here. Sound of waw should be the sound of this thing. We say boo, oo. Okay? This is ba, ah. So this is a mismatch. So this is the problem here. This is a problem here. This letter is a weak letter. Its sound is a mismatch here by the rule of speaking. Okay? So we have to fix this one. Okay? So how do we fix it? Okay? There's a rule for fixing this thing. What we do, we said this fatah sound is not correct here. This zabar sound is not correct here. Somehow or the other we have to bring this sound here. We have to bring this sound here. Okay. So how we do that? We just cannot randomly just change the sign here and say, okay, that's working. The rule is that we look at these two letters, Ain and Waw. Okay. And also, if you notice that when I am trying to pronounce I have to put a little pressure on myself. This is wadu. Okay. It doesn't sound very good and stressful and not very polite. Okay. So what we do, very important, and it will be happening a lot. Whenever we will see a weak letter, any of these letters have a mismatch here. Whenever we see any other word, and a lot of words will come in the Quran, we will have to fix those letters. That's the reason they are called weak letters. That comes over, they are going to be changed. So what we do, very important. This is the way we do it. This sukoon here, which is on ayn, we move this sukoon here on waw. Okay? And this sound of waw is dhamma here, right? So we change that, this thing on the ayn. Just replace these two. One more time, this is important. Okay? This ayn has a sukoon and waw has a fatha. Okay? So what we do, we take this sukoon and move on waw. So this will become now, let's first keep the other guys together, we are not going to touch them. Alif and this will stay there, dal will stay there with dhamma. We are not going to do anything with these two, first one and the last one. Okay. That leaves ayn and waw. These two are left, right? All we are doing is that originally ayn had a sukoon. We just moved the sukoon on waw. Okay? And this sound of waw was dhamma. We moved that on ayn. Okay? Now pronounce, it's very easy on the tongue. A'udhu. A'udhu. It's easy coming out of your mouth. No pressure, no screaming, no a'udhu, like I'm trying to throw up, you know. A'udhu, no. Very smooth, a'udhu. So it became easy. So what we did? Huruf illat caused a problem. They were sick, we fixed them. In the sound, okay? It became easy to pronounce, a'udhu. No pressure on the tongue, or on the mouth, or anywhere. A'udhu. Very easy. Okay? This is the word in there. A'udhu. I seek protection. A'udhu. I seek protection. Or I seek refuge. I seek protection or I seek refuge. Okay? Now, we have already looked at these two words. Next word is a harf-e-jar B and Allahu. When we combine, it became Billahi. That's the second word there. A'udhu Billahi. I seek protection with Allah. I seek protection with Allah. Okay? So, we still have a lot of things here to learn. We haven't touched it up. Bil Alameen and Minash Shaitan Rajim, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. But with these, we will inshallah stop here and we'll continue next time. Okay? So, if you guys can give me your email address, I'll what